3, 2, 1, confess.
Sure.
3, 2, 1.
Opening Airtable. Yeah, it's like real warm here. Yesterday, I think it was over 90 degrees in the shop itself. That's like, what do we got? That's 32 degrees in down under
It's
units.
pretty warm. That is pretty warm. Anything over 30 is uncomfortable in my book.
Yeah, same here. It's supposed to be, we have part of our crazy this week is we have like a maker's fair market thing on the weekend, which is going to be fun, but it's always just a lot of stress getting everything ready. And it's supposed to be 101 that day, and we're going to be outside the entire day under like a tent. So I'm trying to figure out how to survive that without having Ricky quit on me or something.
Yeah, that's pretty hot. 38. Yep. Wow.
I'm just kind of, I'm trying to debate whether anybody's going to come. We're pretty fair weather people in the Northwest. I don't know.
A maker fair is in what sort of mix of people will be there?
Mostly more handmade things. We're kind of maybe on the edge of acceptable, I suppose, since we use CNCs to make most of our stuff. But I mean, we'll have the knack wall there. I think I mentioned that last time, like trying to get that out there so that hopefully be able to sell it and have people like play with it a little bit more hands-on than prior. We did like, hey, look at it and just someday this will be available. Now my challenge is to like actually have prices and be able to have people, hopefully, if we can like work out all the kinks of figuring that out, like actually basically pre-order it for like local delivery or pickup. That's my hope.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And have you done this fair before?
Yeah. So we did, it happens at different times of the year. So we did one that was like a winter market version, but it was out in like one of our lumber pliers warehouse because it was COVID too. So like nobody really wanted to be inside anywhere. So that was where we showed, I think I put a time lapse of putting together the knack wall last time. And that's
right. Yeah.
That was that one. We ended up finding out that people thought that the Chemex rests were like actually a product rather than like me just thinking like, hey, maybe somebody will like this. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, cool.
We had a bunch of those. Yeah.
I remember when we used to do markety things, I used to very much enjoy the engagement with people.
Yeah.
Like conversations, having to sort of explain your products in person to someone who's never seen them before.
Yes.
All of that stuff I found really valuable. I found them utterly useless from a sales perspective, though, as a rule, and often came away thinking I just lost a whole day or more, depending on, how much prep went into it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was fun, and I had some good conversations, but whatever. And it was always really hard to tell what the overflow return was of how many of those people then re-engaged with the business at a later date or in the weeks after that.
Did you find, if I hear what you're saying, you never like turned a profit on the event and all the things leading up? Yeah. That's what I always feel like happens. Like
never.
It's kind of, we were walking around like a vintage flea market-y thing when we were on vacation. Hey, Ricky's going to make a show. Hey, I'm doing the podcast.
Guest appearance.
That's Ricky. He was out running some errands. And I said to my wife, I was like, I bet, what's the situation here is none of these people that sell stuff in these little booths make any money. They just, it's like a storage unit, basically. It's like they're paying to keep their stuff in these places. And then the house makes, a decent amount of profit every month because all they need to do is sell floor space, like a storage unit, which is very popular in America. As people put their stuff in storage. And it just hit me finally. I was like, oh, yeah, there's no way that each of these little vendors is selling enough that they're making a profit.
Yeah, I think, not to be pessimistic, but I think those markets were important to us at one point.
Yeah.
As we were building the brand and getting our name out there, definitely. They were definitely useful, I think, from a brand building sort of perspective. Yeah.
I always find that feeling of, which we've talked about a lot in the last time we did it and now this time, I think about like putting myself in the place of a customer walking up and going like, it's a pretty big ask for somebody to like, maybe they're thinking of, I'll buy a cutting board or like some, lip balm or like something more like, I don't know, easy to just purchase off the whim. And I know it's a big ask for them to go, hey, what do you think about a storage system for your house? That goes on your wall. But I'm just kind of hoping to get some conversations. And one of my goals was to be able to potentially get people's feedback and have them physically play with it and see like, what would you put on this? What would a kit be ideal to you? And kind of like capture that.
Totally. Yeah. Bit of market research. There you go.
Exactly. And if we happen to sell a couple, then sweet.
Yeah, just get eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
Get it out into the world. Talk about it. It's good. Yeah.
How's things going for you?
You make me miss markets now. Damn you.
You could start a market of your own. The butter market.
Constant Instagram posts with low engagement.
Yes. Lower and lower engagement every time you post. It's fun.
It's a different vibe, isn't it? Oh, tell me about it. Amazing. I'm good. Had a good week.
Good.
After recording last week, we had our workshop improvement day, just coming around really fast at the moment, possibly too fast, too regularly. There was a bit of chatter last week about like, do we actually need to do this every month, or can we do it on a sort of as needs basis? But I've been dedicating my workshop improvement days to shooting, like photography, as kind of a dedicated clean day just to shoot new photos, which I really like the rhythm of that. So I'd like to stick to a monthly shoot, even if we shift the lean day out a little bit. But had a good shoot last week, new products.
Yeah, no kidding. You've been pumping out a lot of photos for products.
I think typically I come away from those days with about 600 or 700 shots, most of which are rubbish. And then I slowly pick through them over the following weeks and pick out a handful of decent stuff. But it was good. And the guys had a pretty good day in the workshop, getting things further along and improved.
Cool.
It was good. And been a good week. There's a few big sort of structural changes happening here at the moment. We had our, not quite annual. We haven't been in the program that long, but I think we're about 10 months into this business coaching program. We had our kind of progress review last week, also on Thursday.
Yep.
So Sarah, our business manager, came to Castlemaine for the day. She's usually working in Melbourne.
Okay. Yeah.
And she hung out here and we had our progress review. It was good, very positive. And our coach was basically like, you guys are doing really well, but you're being too modest. You need to think bigger. And he's like, I think he thought our profit goal was a bit cute. He's like, come on, guys.
Profit or revenue?
This. Well, both. Interrelated, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's got to be one of those things, any type of coach, right? It's like your basketball or soccer coach where they're never going to be happy. If they were, you would probably be like, all right, you're not a very good coach. We're done with you.
Yeah.
New therapist.
What am I paying you for?
We've done everything.
Progress review complete. Having doubted it at times and had cold feet many times over the last 10 or 11 months. Feeling really positive about having been doing that. I think it's been a really positive step for us overall.
It's just you that participates, right?
No, Sarah and I.
Oh, Sarah, sorry, yes.
We both do it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of that. I got to find something like that here because I feel that just chatting with a couple of friends about business things, and I just constantly have that feeling of like, I need what you've described, like somebody to, or I have another, one of my friends was like, they literally tell me like, don't worry about this, situation or that situation, like keep moving forwards with this. Ricky's great to chat with, but he doesn't sit around and think about the things I do all day.
Yeah.
And so just somebody to help focus those thoughts a little bit more. Too many ideas usually is the problem.
Yeah. I highly recommend something along those lines.
Maybe I'll stop talking about it and do it sometime.
But yeah, that progress further, handing off responsibilities of mine, and trying to get a bit more clarity around who does what in the business. I feel like over the last year, we've had quite a lot of overlap, which can be seen as inefficient in terms of who's responsible for what. So in what is a fairly big move, I've handed off HR to Sarah.
Ooh.
So
nice.
Which feels massive. Like, not that it's a great deal of time in my week, but it's a great deal of headspace.
Oh yeah. Does that include like you said, you mentioned recruiting, like that kind of thing, not just like nice.
Recruiting. You know, I think it'd be really good having Sarah in that role because she'll actually have time for, you know, things like finishing the induction documents that we've never finished and having a solid onboarding process. And so when we do, like, we're not hiring at the moment, but when we do, all of those systems will be in a much better place.
Yeah, for sure.
And even just little things like actually calling the people back who email us looking for work, and just like, they tend to sit in the inbox and I get to them eventually, but
same.
Pretty loose with that stuff.
Same.
So yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great.
Oh, mish. That's good. How's your week?
I just get stressed out. Not to go back to the Makers Fair thing, but I just get stressed out. I want it to pay off, and in financial sense would be ideal, but accomplishing like some of the small goals we have, and then I always feel like I'm just like not quite prepared for it as it gets closer and closer. So that's in my mind, and I'm doing the other thing that's newish for my normal is I'm making a rather large part for a local client that we do some repeat work for, and out of aluminum, that is. And it entails taking off what have basically been permanent fixturing vices on the mill. And I think, honestly, Andy put those on, dialed them in. I don't know that I've dialed a vice in yet. I know the process. I just haven't done it. So I have to both take them off and then put one back on to finish it. So I'm like, am I sure it has to come off? And I tried to find a way to put both vices on to hold the part. But I bought one Kurt vice. One came with the machine. I thought they were close enough to the same. And they actually are just different generations. And so they don't align in their like y-axis. They're like a little bit off. So you can't use them in tandem unless you're using only one face, which I need to move them because it's so big. But anyway, it's been like, it's like I go out there and stare at it for a while, and I'm like, now that won't work. And then I like move the jaw faces in the new position. Oh, that'll work. And then I went out there and put the piece in there, and it's like, oh, it doesn't align. And just had to like work backwards to like figure out how to do it, and then ask some friends, like, can I just put the metal right on the table? Like, is that all right? And they're like, yeah, I just don't cut the table. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I get that. Get that part. Try not to cut my tables. I enjoy that challenge. It's like when enough of those things hit at the same time, you're like, all right, one of these challenges has to be resolved soon here, and I have to finish that part today. So not a big deal, I don't think.
You're saying you've never put a big bit of carbide through your shop saber table?
Oh, I have. Yeah. I'm the only one, I believe, that's cut the phenolic table. I think surprisingly, I would have expected somebody else to have by now.
I think I'm the same. I think I'm the culprit when it comes to the big gouges in our aluminium bed.
Or we just don't hear about it, but I haven't seen Ricky had a bandsaw blade. We've been keeping the lights off in the shop. We have a couple skylights because it's so warm. And I was walking by, and he had changed the bandsaw blade and like brought that back there to, bundle it back up. And it was sitting on the table, big thing, 111 inches. And it just reflected in a weird way. And I thought that there was a giant circle cut into the phenolic. I just stopped. I was like, Ricky, I thought you cut into the table. It's just a blade. And he started laughing at me. He's like, nope. Would have told you about that. And I was like, okay. I'm just seeing things now.
I've never done much with vices at all. But I do love the look of the Datron interface in terms of, have you seen that stuff, like the part alignment with the camera? We can just
good.
Drag gestures around, like probe this corner, and then this is the stock envelope, or whatever, however it works. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. It looks like our friend Nick, I think it's Polanowski. I've learned a lot machining from him. He'll answer any question I have about mills. Super nice guy. And cool. He just got a Datron, and that thing is fantastic to watch work. Yeah, so fast. And I think where it's appealing to maybe people like us too is really, the touchscreen's great, the probing's great, it's fast, but it has vacuum in it too. Like they have vacuum plates. Those cards are so cool.
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by that VAC card stuff, how it works.
I was messaging Nick about this project I'm doing right now. He's like, well, when do you need it done by? And I was like, oh, like Wednesday. And he's like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I could make that for you so fast. And I was like, yeah, but I got this machine that like I need to learn how to use really well. I know your Datron could do it in like 3 seconds. Not even need a second fixture. But yeah, I think it's good. I feel I did, unfortunately, just break a tool right before this. I don't know. I think I must have had it too deep. I was making a little fixture for the second op, but it is very satisfying when you get something made on it still. It's like, I think it's because it's so common that the router isn't as satisfying, but to do, but it's like something about cutting metal into very precise shapes. It seems hard, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a good feeling. How do you go with tool selection on the mill? Like, I wouldn't really have a clue where to start if I was tooling up a mill.
Nick was super helpful once again.
Yeah,
he sent me his tool list because I had the same question. I asked like 3 or 4 people. I was like, where would you buy tools from? Because I don't know if you have this problem there, but there's this like silly thing that still exists where you have to like buy from a brand will exist and then you can't buy from them directly. You have to buy from somebody, some dealer. And I was like, wait, there are some brands that let you just buy direct. So I kind of went that way. It was like I use some decent amount of Meritool stuff, and then we have a local tooling vendor that I have started to lean on more and more, which is great. It's like, hey, guy that I talked to there, like, I'm going to cut this and I need this much cut. And he's like, all right, here's 2 tools to choose from. And I'm like, yes, cool. So easy.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, leaning on vendors is good.
Oh, so good.
When you get a decent relationship going. I think John's got a couple of tooling reps now that he talks to regularly. I've been getting more custom tools made because they're not that expensive.
Right.
When we need a specific profile, or like the thread mill that we use on the pencil sharpener.
Yep.
We used to just buy that on Amazon from the States, and it would take weeks to get here, and it was quite expensive. And because I literally couldn't find an Australian tool vendor that sold a single point thread mill.
Yeah.
And we've since, I don't know if they've arrived yet. We've commissioned custom ones.
Cool.
From an Australian vendor.
You found yeah.
Custom thread mills ground from solid carbide, and they were cheaper than buying the ones from the States. So
that's amazing.
We'll see.
Nice. Yeah. Good work.
Hopefully they work, but
one custom tool for our iMac bases, and it's not like complicated, but it's a few $100 because we only have one.
Yeah.
It's just solid 3/4 inch carbide that's like 5 or 6 inches long. So it's, and mostly it felt like you're just paying for the carbide in that situation.
Except for the draft angle.
Yeah,
those parts.
Just makes them buttery smooth compared to a bunch of step downs.
Does that mean you're just like finishing that draft in one shot? Ooh, tasty.
Yeah.
Do you rough it out in a step?
We use like a giant 3/4 inch rougher. But I mean, the collection of tools used for that those set of operations were probably the most expensive tool sets I've ever bought for anything. But it meant going from like 10 minutes per product to like 3 minutes of machining.
Yeah.
You know, so you spend $1,000 on tooling, which seems like a ton of money, and a lot of them we reuse those tools, all except for the custom tool. Like all of them, we use that roughing tool all the time. That was like $300, but
yeah, they go a long way if you look after them. Even if you don't look after them, we've got a 3 flute 1/2 inch rougher that we've had for probably like 5 or 6 years, and still going. Cuts. It does. We have a contract to machine this acoustic wood wool product that comes out of Sweden.
Yeah,
it's kind of this pulped timber acoustic treatment. We've been using the same tool on that for, I reckon, we had it in timber production previously, and then we got that contract, so we've probably been using it for like 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, just thousands upon thousands of parts, and it's still it like feels blunt, but it still does a good job.
That's been shocking on that note for me, how long tools last in aluminum, particularly. Like I would have never guessed they last this long. And I've been using a rougher. It's a 3/8 inch rougher, 3 flute. I think I'm on the first or second one since I got the machine, and it just keeps going. Like I look at it every once in a while. I expect it to be chipped like a compression cutter or something, and like It's fine. Okay. Just keep going.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess cutting plywood probably generates a lot more heat than a coolant fed,
I guess,
mill, right?
That's an interesting quandary. I don't know. I mean, obviously you can really like optimize, I think, the way that the chips are formed, I feel like, in aluminum, whereas at some point the wood breaks and turns into a dust or like something else. So that may be true.
Yeah, I remember my sort of broke my brain a little bit in a good way when started using Fusion, which was around the same time that I started kind of really understanding like feed per tooth and chip load and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I remember like cutting some aluminium and pulling a chip off the table and going, oh, if I measure the thickness of that chip, it should kind of compute to the like
oh wow, yeah.
feed per tooth in Fusion. I was like, oh wow, it measures the same of what it should be. Amazing.
That's crazy you say that. I've never thought of it that way, but that's a great learning tool to like train somebody with. Like, because that inch per tooth or whatever you call it, feed per tooth, is a confusing thing to discuss with somebody that's learning. I remember going through that with a couple. That's a great, you just should try it, see if it works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to do with plywood, but even even with timber, the logic still kind of applies.
Let me go measure some aluminum chips.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do it with the baby pants because all that dust is just gone forever.
You can't measure. Yeah, you can't. There's no more. We also compact your dust for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's got like a briquette maker inline.
Yeah. It's
beautiful.
It's going too far with the baby part of that. It's compacting for you. So my confession
is one confess.
After 14 months of working on CAD files to make my own cabinets for our kitchen renovation, my wife convinced me to buy IKEA cabinets.
Yes.
So we have it's so shockingly cheap. Like, I know it's like particle board with melamine. It's not heritage quality materials, but my word, it was like, I think basically this time last week, she asked me like for real. She's been asking me jokingly for a long time, and I kept going like kind of full of like, pride, like, no, I'm making our cabinets, like I have the machines, I can do it. And I've been banging my head against how to make them really dynamically in Fusion, and there are a multitude of ways. I could straight up, have them done right now, but I kept trying to push it farther and farther, like be able to like have different features. And it was about maybe Wednesday last week, and she asked me again because it's just, we would like it done, and she finally had added it all to a cart. This is the turning point. And it was like just like less than the material I was going to use for finished cabinets delivered. And I was like, and then she's like, yeah, they could deliver it like Tuesday next week. And I was like, what? God, okay. And I like really had to like sit there and think like, I can't compete with that. Like I wasn't like trying. I thought I was saving us some money by doing it ourselves, obviously versus like a company making custom cabinets. But when it was, I think it ended up being $2,200. We don't have a very big kitchen, but I'm still going to make the fronts. We wanted to do some like bamboo fronts, and I'll still make those. But yeah, all the boxes with all the hardware, it's like $2,200 for our kitchen. That was like less than the material for the boxes that I was going to buy.
Yeah. What material were you planning to make the carcasses from? I
had some like apple ply because I did not need it to be that, but it was like available last August when I bought it. So I got to resell that too because it's been taking up storage space.
Yeah, it's a quandary. I think you've made the right decision for sure. Just get it done. I've got a multitude of home projects that are hanging over me at the moment, and some of them are cabinet making based. But yeah, I didn't go to the IKEA. I didn't stoop that low, but I did.
Sick burn by Jim.
I did swap out plywood for a melamine chipboard for all my carcasses that I made last year for our lounge room base cabinets.
Yeah.
It was just such a joy to machine, and it's like flat, and beautiful vacuum hold down, and
Melamine.
I edge banded it all on the Contraro and installed it, and it was great.
I do have to make some, because of availability and not quite the right sizing. I don't know what that system. It's almost like Lamello that they use, with the twist lock thing that goes in.
Yep.
I have to do some customization of a couple pieces, so I'm gonna try to replicate whatever their system is, but because I have to cut the top and the bottom to shorten a couple pieces, because
you're gonna try and make parts that work.
Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna go, but it's that cabinet's $66. So as worst case scenario, I remake that cabinet, I guess.
Yeah.
Or buy another. I don't know. Try it again.
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing about base cabinets, right? You can kind of hack them up and put them back together again, and then by the time everything's boxed in, it's all hidden.
I'd say that, I really wanted to be completely transparent. I really wanted to come out with this video I made cabinets with Fusion finally, because I haven't really seen many people accomplish it in a dynamic sense, and Rob Lockwood's done some cool stuff, and I kind of copied his idea, and we were working on it kind of collectively because he's trying to build some stuff for his house too. And
right. Okay.
And so it was kind of a point of pride to make something out of it. And I still may try and do it on a smaller scale, but I just kept running out of juice on it'd be a weekend and be I need to work on the cabinets. And I do not want to open Fusion right now, do that all week. So it's been really good. As soon as we decided, we sat on the couch Saturday and ordered it, and I was oh, I don't have to think about that anymore. It's
relief.
Constant pressure that's gone.
Yeah. Great.
It's been nice.
Good move. Focus on the business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Erin kept joking. She's I'm just going to go sneak in a request to Ricky and have him make him on the side. And I was you wouldn't. Did you make much of the furniture for your home? Cabinets and things?
Only a little bit, because when it was my mother-in-law's house, so Laura's mum's house, so it was basically fully furnished when we moved in, and we've just made some minor changes since then.
Makes sense.
But my confession's nowhere near as exciting. I think I hit my 3-monthly limit, and I had to rebuild my to-do list on Monday. Which I don't feel guilty about. Feels good.
Yeah, no, I love that bankruptcy of task list stuff.
Yeah. I'm back in workflowing.
Are you? Yeah. I tend to, this week I got stressed out by how many things I have to do, and it's the place I dump my thoughts because you can reorganize it so easily. So I have this, and then Ricky never uses it. We don't use it for business reasons, and I just shared him a link to it. I was here, this is what I've been planning with. I don't want to put it in an Airtable. Just look at this. These lists, so easy. Yeah. So did you copy everything over or start totally fresh and disregard the last?
I triaged and only copied what I felt was most important, which wasn't very much. Just dumped the rest of it. No, I haven't deleted anything out of Airtable. I just yet another skeleton archive of things that will now collect dust until I come crawling back to Airtable in another 3 months. Haven't got sick of workflowing. Onwards.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of my process now. It's just quarterly to-do reset.
I've been doing that since early college, early university.
Same.
It's just my brain hits a limit, and I can't process this anymore. I got to start a new list.
Yeah. How we do it. You talking about machine setup before? No, it was when you were talking about the draft angle on the iMac bases and custom tooling. I just had quite a sort of visceral response of damn, I miss machining.
Ooh, you're gonna have to bring a little desktop machine into your whole office that you don't get to go out of.
Cubby.
Yeah. You got a little Shapoko in there and make some draft angles.
Yeah, I just need to be consistent with my R&D time.
Yeah.
Make sure I get out in that time slot and play on the tools. Yeah, I've been a bit slack this winter.
Sure.
Yeah, just need to get out there. The pencil sharpener's kind of been my last bastion of production because I've been the only one who can sort of program it. Other people have been running production parts on it, but I've been the only one that can make program tweaks and write new programs and stuff. But I spent my R&D slot on Monday or Tuesday basically making another long handover video for John of like, this is how I take the code, this is how I set up the code in Fusion. This is how I modify the code in Visual Studio and how I send it to the machine. And then when that height offset's right, then bring it back and like modify the code like this and blah, blah, blah. So slowly transferring the ability to program new parts to him. Should be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, I just got to get that like 5-axis UMC in the corner, and then that can be my new plaything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's depends on the size of parts. I think we talked about that before. You can get did they change their name? Pocket NC is now Penta machining. Yeah. But that's, supposedly they're going to Penta machining or Penta machines.
Okay.
PENTA.
Cool.
Which I'll never remember probably now.
That's the little 5-axis one that kind of looks like a mini kern.
Yeah. They're supposedly going to have it. This is honestly like made. I don't think I need to buy it. I just want to see it. It's an interesting idea. I like to see new things like that. But they're supposedly going to have it at IMTS in Chicago in the fall, which is like 2 months now away. But I've been debating whether to go because like the flights go up and down pretty cheap, honestly. And I need nothing really. Like it's just social, something interesting. And it's been so long since it felt safe to do any of that. Like you went, right?
Yeah.
And they're supposedly going to have one there. Sounds fun.
Cool. That would be fun. I hope you make it.
Yeah, me too. We talked about it a little bit last time, the chicken and egg sales person hiring scenario. I'm curious. You said you were potentially hiring, and I'm always thinking like, I always want to be hiring for this, like A, to generate more sales, B, to take it off my plate. Like, I just want somebody else to do it.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I think there's a reason it's often the last position that business owners hang on to.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, it's our intention to hire for this in the coming 3 to 6 months, but it's, I think, a massive challenge because, I don't know, legacy sort of process speaking here, but like, I feel like, I guess everyone probably feels like their process is special and hard to replace, right?
Yes.
So there's definitely that going on. So, my version of that is I feel like our quoting process is so tied into our design process. So like we're often designing a solution for someone as we quote it. That someone just doesn't come to us and go, we just like punch in numbers and go, oh, it's like roughly this big, it'll be this much money. It's like, cool, what's your problem? Let's try and solve it together. What's your budget? Okay, cool. Then that probably limits you to these materials or this size thing. And like, I feel like design and quoting are very tied together currently.
Yeah.
And so I find it hard to imagine how we could hire someone for the sales role who doesn't have the same design background or skill set, or
Yeah. Well, there's that damning scenario I feel like you hear about often where the salespeople sold this job and the people that do the work hate them, And it's exactly what you're describing. I think I would like to say I'm proud of the scenario. The specialness I feel is that we don't have that disconnect because there's like 2 people right now, but I've always believed that there should be like everybody that's working on the job is responsible for it. It's not this handoff like salesperson isn't responsible, like they're as responsible as the person that does QC that it gets done right to me. And I think that a lot of that's easy to say because I've never had more than 4 people to collectively, but once you get to 50, it's probably a different story, but I still think I'd feel the same. I guess I've semi-trained 2 people to do sales that had worked here for a decent amount of time. And it was mostly like a secondary task for them. I still was doing the majority, but I was surprised at how quickly both of them caught on, more than I thought they would. Like I've had the same we're special, I'm special feeling of like, and I wrote down while you were saying that, it's like the owner controls by owning sales, because it's so true. It's like we can control what comes in that way, as well as like profitability and all of the factors. I've never not wanted to give it up. It's just, it seems really hard to give it up.
Yeah.
In terms of like replacing all the skill set needed and just our history with it, right? We've been doing it for, that process was something we had to start with by ourselves and learn and then perfect over so many years. So perfect. I've not perfected it.
When you say you've trained people to do sales, do you mean like front end engagement with customers, or more like sort of back end of like crunching numbers?
Both. Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
Very minorly. I mean, I wish I would have it just didn't seem like it made sense, but one person was just kind of felt good they really like to talk on the phone and talk to people and like communicate a lot. And so I was like, this seems like it could be a good fit, and was good with numbers. So that worked out pretty well. Ended up not staying here very long for other reasons. But then the other person was because the pandemic hit and couldn't work in the shop anymore. So I was like, well, what can you do remotely? And I was like, how about some sales? Yeah. And they were very responsive to that because it was still a job. And in the end, it was like, they didn't really like it that much. And I don't know if they were that suited to it. So that's about all the farther I've gotten with it.
Yeah, I think my experience to date, when you said before, like we can control what the flow of work and control the profitability, that made me think about the fact that as an owner, I am much more likely to take risks when quoting. Of like, oh yeah, we can do that. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'll say yes because I'm confident that we can do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to the support I've had in sort of quoting, people who have helped me in that role typically are much more conservative, and that makes sense because they're
it's not theirs to take risks. Yeah,
it's not their gamble, and so typically they're much slower, which makes sense because they're being more conservative, more conscientious of like, have I done all the things? Have I got all the parts on the sheet? Go back and check. Yeah, cool, got all the things. Like they're doing more cross-checking, whereas my flow is, I suppose, a bit more intuitive and a bit more loose. Bit definitely more risk-taking of like, it's roughly 6 sheets, cool, going to resolve that detail, but we'll work it out later. And then I do cop a bit of flack from production on stuff like that of like, Jem, why didn't you think about this detail when you quoted? I was like, well, I thought we'll work it out. And we did work it out, right?
Yeah, you figured it out. Good for you. You did good.
But that's something we've got, I feel like we've gotten a lot better of recently as we've improved our sort of handover process. So when we win a custom job, say it's, cabinets for someone's lounge room or bookshelves, custom bookshelves. So if I've sold the project and I've been the one engaging with the customer and to designing it for them on the fly.
Yeah.
As part of that sales process, I then make a screen capture video of my sketches in Rhino, and I give that screen capture video to Josh, who typically details it in Fusion.
Yeah.
When Josh finishes detailing it in Fusion, he does another video which details it all for production. So for the machinist, for John, who's machining it, and people who might be working on processing and assembly and stuff like that. So by doing those handover steps, it kind of makes us more accountable to actually think about, like, as I'm screen recording, I'll often pause. I'll be like, crap, I haven't thought about that. How do I actually articulate what that detail is or how it's going to work? Yeah.
Where's the director?
So it's made me a bit more accountable to those things, which has been good.
Yeah.
But in short, I don't know how we're going to find that person.
Yeah, I haven't actively looked for somebody. I did, and that was this year, I think, at one point, to that different aspects, like I've never worked in sales. I've never worked and known anybody to work in. I understand some of the concepts that are popular, but for example, would you consider a commission structure for those type of roles?
As in, yeah, I've never worked in sales either, so I barely know what that even means. So do you mean commission like the person who sells the project gets a cut, like as a reward structure?
Yeah, so it's a part of their pay, so it's incentivized to sell. The problem with, there's a lot of problems with that, both ways.
Yeah, and I've thought about stuff like that too, but I guess it's something I've butted up against. It's like, cool, but then how do you tie that into that sort of bigger picture, like you were saying before, like wanting to be responsible from sales right through to QC as a team?
Yep.
You could sell whatever for your commission if you're irresponsible.
Yep.
And not care about how it was going to be made.
Yep.
I could be like quoting away going, well, sell. And then, making a really hard time for my production team. So I don't know. Team, yeah.
We could start that thing where, I don't know if this is popular there, but like it's become pretty popular here with the pandemic where like when you're checking out like a restaurant or something, it'd be like, do you want to tip the staff? And it's like, we all share the tips. And it's like, maybe when our clients check out, they can tip all of our staff. Like on their invoices. Do you want to tip your production people? It'd be so weird.
Yeah, incentives and rewards are a super interesting area, which I don't know much about. I've always been interested in like the profit sharing concept. I think I've probably mentioned that here before, but like I'd love to learn more about that. And maybe if we continue down this trend of actually making a profit, which looks so far so good, looks okay, then maybe that's something we can investigate. But yeah. There's always the other angle of like pay people well to do a job well. That should be enough. So I don't know. Got no answers on that one.
The other side of the hiring for sales is I'm confident that I am stifling our potential for job shop work either by there's like 16 ways. It's like I don't respond quickly enough. I don't quote. Yep. I quote in the ways that I'm controlling all of the steps. I'm either overly confident or not confident enough in what we can do or the timeline, or I'm just personally stressed out about the business. And so then I'm like, either quoting or responding or like pushing jobs off in different ways because I feel like we're busy, but maybe we're not. And it's like, I know for a fact, as soon as you it's just like production. It's like the person that does the production isn't as worried about sales, obviously. So their focus is on that one thing. They get that done way better than I could when I was splitting up my time 16 ways. It's like, it's got to be the same, in some fashion, that their like job is to call people and reach out. And like, I'm kind of bad at all those steps of like proper sales. Like I like to email people basically. And then after that, I'm like, I don't know. I got to design something now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of my feeling here is that I need to do some time where it's just me responsible for sales completely.
Oh, interesting.
Partly to make myself more accountable because there's definitely a sense when I've got help with it of not being wholly accountable to our numbers.
Yep.
Whereas if I am leading that process and I'm wholly responsible for it, then I think that might help me sort of get over my fear of picking up the phone and my fear of like conversion rate numbers and actually analyzing what we're doing well and what we're not doing well and things like that. So it's kind of where my thinking is at. I just need to take that whole piece of pie, really like run with it, take responsibility for it, and then ideally develop the processes around it to a point where there's enough structure and sort of clear process there that I can then find someone and go, here, this is how we do it. This is our process. And then, so maybe then the role doesn't have to be so specialized. It can be more sort of someone who doesn't have, 5 years of sales experience in a small business. It's just someone who's kind of aligned culturally and you can go, cool, you're a nice fit. This is how we do it here. Off you go.
Yeah, what I'm curious about, having not come from sales, is I want somebody to, in a lot of ways, teach me or teach us how to do it well, how to go for it. And there's still, like you're saying, culture. There's like maybe things we think we do well, but I'm sure I'm doing things that push people away from, or I'm just not following up in the ways they want to, or I don't know. I'm very curious to like hear them work, almost in a sense, how they would tackle certain clients versus others, or I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely, if you're out there and you want a job in this, let us know.
I think my two biggest takeaways from things that have helped us lately have been qualifying harder. So being much stricter about what our ideal job is.
Yep.
And being much more thorough about actually picking up the phone to qualify. And also picking up the phone to follow up. So qualifying and follow-ups have made like a massive improvement in our conversion rate.
And follow-ups are specifically by phone.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't contact that way, like they said, interesting.
Yeah, Airtable form comes in, pick up the phone, send a quote via email, pick up the phone a week later.
Jeez, yeah.
And sort of, as long as you sort of control those expectations and say, as the quote gets emailed out, you say like, I'm going to call you in a week. I'm going to touch base next Tuesday. If you sort of set those expectations, then I feel like people are very receptive and never have an issue with you calling them if you've sort of defined that.
Do you have an idea of, in these success stories of follow-up by phone, whether these are mostly businesses or are they also private parties?
Oh, definitely. No, well, most of our customers are private parties. So.
Oh, really?
Both. Yeah, both. And the conversations in the follow-ups, sometimes, yes, there's plenty of awkward ones that just like doesn't go anywhere.
I don't like you. Oh, fine.
But for the most part, no, there's nothing that bad. Nothing like that.
Yeah, I know.
But the conversations often lead to interesting tangents of like, that thing that we initially inquired about is kind of actually less important. There's this other thing. Okay, I don't have budget for that project right now, but there's this other opportunity. And so like that stuff doesn't happen via email. I find like those conversations, I feel like only happen in person or on the phone. So
sure,
it's been powerful. And I am a person who really doesn't like picking up the phone to call ever. So it's been
join the club. Another thing we're the same
hard to get over myself with that.
I had that thought actually this week, the last couple of days, is I've just never liked phone calls ever. Like I just don't I feel like I'm trapped, to be frank. Like I feel like I can't do anything but be on the phone, and I'm like, I have so much to do right now. I don't know why. I need to talk to my therapist about that apparently, but I've just always felt trapped, and like I had that realization like 2 days ago. I was like, damn it, Justin, just call people. This is stupid. Like if this is the reason like you could succeed, why are you fighting this so hard? Yeah, I know that.
It's just practice, right?
Yeah. You said you use a lot of video chat type things. Is that after you've won jobs then with clients?
Yeah. Yeah, typically I do. Lately, I've been doing a few more video cap to go with the quote as well, to give more context around something.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's smart.
So just show off a few details in Rhino, because typically I've drawn something as part of the quoting process. And they might get a PDF drawing that goes with their quote, but then, I just, it comes back to my dislike for technical drawings. There's not enough in them. So diving into a quick 1-minute video of zooming in Rhino and going, this is what I was picturing for this detail. Yes, it's unresolved, but if we go ahead, this is my intention here, and we'll fix up that and blah, blah, blah. Just give it.
That's smart.
2 minutes of broad context.
I was imagining some kind of like web app where it's like a drawing, but like in, let's say it's your style. It's more whimsical or something, or less standard drawing. And when you hover over a feature, it just your little bubble pops up and starts talking to you about a detail. And then you go somewhere else and it's another gem caricature.
Cute. I like it.
You've got gem mail.
I desperately need that Kitaparts configurator though.
Ugh.
I'm quoting custom Kitaparts every day at the moment, which is great. But
did you get any farther with that developer?
People could do it. He's really busy. We're still in talks.
Yeah.
Next few weeks, maybe we'll make some progress. But yeah.
Yeah.
I did have the thought the other day of maybe we just need to hire like a hungry young games designer who can design a sort of Nintendo 64-esque emulator where you just drag and drop little pixelated Kitaparts with some game music. Because we kind of want a game. Like, in terms of the functionality and drag and drop and interface, it's just a simple 2D game. How hard can it be?
It would obviously have to be Tetris based so they can never make any mistakes.
Well, that's what Ben said. Like, the parts fall in from the top and you have to like...
Yeah. You only get one shot. Don't get them upside down.
And it goes into your shopping cart and it's done. But we have chatted a little bit about your genius idea of just like printing out the components, having a little cardboard cutout kit.
Yeah, for sure. It's such good engagement, like in a sense of being able to send somebody something, like say you even charge them $5, like to cover your costs if you needed to do that, like so that people wouldn't just willy-nilly order them all over the place and you're just throwing money away. Or you could just try it and see how it goes. But if they wanted a little slower, I was trying to make a joke about farm to table. Say I wanted a little slower version of manufacturing, you could send them the kit and they could put it together and play with different parts and be pretty fun.
It's got potential. Have you made any progress on your NAC configurations?
Supposed to be working on that this week. I banged my head against thinking about it a lot yesterday. No, I think I'm kind of resigned to put up a couple options for this show. Like we have a horizontal and a vertical for this display we made. And then we're also bringing this weird thing that Ricky made that holds parts and goes in our bathroom to keep parts clean. It's a drying rack that has the NAC wall on it. We're going to bring that. So it'll be like the offload station. So if people are interested, they can take stuff off of there, rearrange one on their own. And I'm either going to just take photos or like set up a camera and like keep track of what people are either doing and then interface with them. And I'm hoping that I'll have some way to just price everything and just say, all right, well, this would cost this. Are you interested? Kind of thing. Or I can email you. Them. I can call you back with this detail in a week.
You. When you say interface with them, do you mean talk to them?
Yes, like a creep. Yes.
Like the AI that you are.
I would like to interface with you now about NACWAL.
Sales with Justin
and Jem in the morning.
I'll have a steaming hot cup of sales, please.
Speaking of steaming, it's 81 in here, and I need to do some machining, so I should probably jump off today.
We're an hour and 10 on the clock. So
hopefully our new recording session works. We'll find out.
Hopefully.
If you heard this, it worked somehow. We didn't have to disconnect 3 times.
Go and make some aluminum chips.
Yes. Yeah, I can't share this one, but I can share the fixture for it. It's very boring.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Turns off the radio in the corner. Wait, is that a gramophone? I can't hear you. Check my sound settings. Passed. Justin, health check passed. We've both passed our health check.